What is an API gateway?
Okay, so let's go back to learning about cloud. We are over with lambdas. There are still things to learn around that, but I think you guys can explore now. So the next thing is API gateways. Now, what is an API? First, if you don't know what is an API, so API is a mechanism or kind of what do you say? Um, Kind of standards which have been set, which will allow you to uh, manipulate the data which resides in the back end of the system. So, for example, you go to your banking application and then you fill out the form and you are updating the data, then you are getting the data back, and then you can also delete some data. So, those kind of manipulations on the data can be done by using APIs. Okay, and we will create another video about APIs, and you guys can see that on the networking section of my Instagram channel. Okay, so let's get back to the topic we have for today, which is API gateways. So APIs gateway will allow you to create APIs, and you can integrate API gateways with a lot of AWS provided services like SQS, SNS, then Lambda. So mostly Lambda will be used to create the backend of the application, and using the API gateway, Lambdas, and DynamoDB, you can create a whole serverless backend architecture. So if we have a DynamoDB here, and this Lambdas perform some CRUD operation. CRUD means create, read, update, delete. So if this Lambdas are performing CRUD operation on this DynamoDB, then we have a whole serverless architecture here, and it will allow you to manipulate the data which resides in your DynamoDB. Okay, so we won't talk about DynamoDB for now. Let's stay on the API gateways. So you have different kind of methods on API gateways, obviously. You can create different kind of API gateways also. So you can have HTTP API gateway, then REST APIs, then the WebSocket also. There are three types only. It won't go over that. So now API gateway also has a limit of 29 seconds. After that, it will time out, and it doesn't matter if your Lambda is running more than that. So there are some limitations on the API gateways also. So most of the time, you would be seeing that we will be creating a REST application with API gateway. Okay, so I hope you understood what is API gateways. And if you don't know what is an API, please go to my other videos in which I will be explaining about APIs and REST APIs. Okay, now let's go to the console and we will create an API gateway. You can just search for API gateway in the search console, and you will land here. It's a totally serverless architecture, so you will only pay when the resource is getting utilized. So as you can see, we have HTTP, WebSocket, and REST API. So we will create a REST API API gateway for now. Let's name it movies. Description: used to manipulate data of movies. PULATE. And then there is regional and edge optimized. So you can just keep it as regional for now. Edge optimized will cost you more, which I will explain in some other video about CloudFront. Just click on create, and you will land here. And now you can create resources. So resources are your entities which resides in your database and which you want to manipulate using API gateways. So we already know that we want to manipulate data in our database using APIs. So let's create our first resource. So we obviously have movies. So we will create a resource about movie. And these are some standard which have been set by the REST APIs. So if you have another resource or entity in your database which is users, so you would create another resource here which would be users. Okay, not here. Let's delete this one. So at the top level you will create another resource, users, and now you have two resources. So on the resource, now you can do get, put, post, patch, this kind of operation. So these are HTTP methods. So get, put, post, and all these are used to do CRUD operation, which means create, read, update, and delete. So get is for getting the data, reading the data from your database. Post is for inserting the data. Put is for updating the data. And delete, I think, yeah, you guessed it, for deleting the data. So let's create a get method for now, and we will integrate it with a Lambda function. Let's use our existing Lambda function. You can see here the timeout is 29000, which is 29 seconds. And click on create method. Okay, so you guys can see that we have created a method in movie which is get, and you guys can go and test it from here. If you click on test, you will see that it has returned us some data which is an array of movies. So the big new movie, the big new movie 2, the big new movie 3. So this data is coming from the Lambda directly. So if I go to the Lambda function which it is using, so this is just mock data for now. We will create another lecture, or I will create another series in which we will be creating a whole backend application with serverless features. So you can see that I have created an array and I'm just returning the data in this dictionary. So for the API gateways or for the REST API, you always have to return the data in JSON format. JSON format means JavaScript object notation. And status code 200 means that everything went fine. I know this is a little lot to grab in a single lecture, but I will try to create an video in which I will explain about all these protocols we have. Okay, so using this API gateway, we were able to call our Lambda function, but you can also call this. So once we have created this, you can deploy this API. We will create a new stage, name it dev, and deploy this API. It will take some time. Okay, it is done. So you can see that you now have a invoke URL, and you can actually go to public internet and type this URL now. Remember, you also have to mention your resource. So I want to do update movie resource, not update get. So now you can see that it has returned us the data which was available in Lambda. So we were able to execute code through the public internet in our API, from our API gateway into our Lambda function. So that's how a backend is developed for any application you want to have. And I would recommend you to install Postman. I will explain you now why that is the case, because from here you can modify the request type also. So you can do a post, put, patch, all this type of call. So from the web browser, you won't be able to do that. So please install Postman. And if we hit this URL from here, you can see that we receive the data here also, but it has been formatted a little bit for us. Okay, so that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one about API gateways. Still a lot to learn here. Okay, peace.